Gracing us with his presence today, we have the former national champion and archery coach, proud winner of both the Arjun and the Dronacharya award, Mr. Sanjeeva Kumar Singh. Currently, he is the head of international business at Tata Housing Development. He is truly a phenomenal personality. He has also completed his degree in BTech in mechanical engineering from BIT Mestra, something we as engineering students will relate the most to. It is indeed a huge honor to have you here with us today, sir.
It's a pleasure. Pleasure for me to be here.
Sir, you've stayed in a boarding school from a very young age. So what, according to you, is the most important skill you've developed while staying there?
See, the biggest thing was when I was just 7 years old. And my father always used to tell me that, you got to be an all-rounder. He said, you have enough number of toppers in your schools, you have enough number of sports champions. But there are very few who are all-rounders, who are good in both. So the whole purpose of being in the boys' school Allahabad, I was here, and the whole purpose was to become an all-rounder because you had fixed time. Morning classes, then afternoon you had your games, then you have your studies. So you were exposed to the sports and you had to play the sport. So I became a champion at a very young age. When I was only hardly 10 years, then I became the Colts champion, the sub-junior, the mini category at boys' school. So that was something which was there because of the boarding school, because that really taught me to become an all-rounder.
Yes, sir. So, sir, you have spoken about the great role your father has played in shaping your life. Now, as a father yourself, what do you think is a parent's role in the life of their children?
See, today there's no distinction between the father and a son now. The distinction has blurred. When we were at our age, there was a distinction between the father and the son because, we had to look up to him. But today that distance is getting blurred because you are like a friend now. It's no more a father-son relationship, it's more of a friend. So therefore you need to understand that the whole, in the last 10 years, the millennial population which is coming in is totally different because they are of the digital age. We were not of the digital age. We learned because of the being in the engineering, we learned the digital technology. But they are born with the digital technology. So therefore the blurring is happening because you need to understand that there's a total change, paradigm shift in the way we were brought in as well as we read our children. So therefore they are of the digital age and that's the reason it's more of a friend rather than as a father, and then you got to treat them that you need to anticipate the demands which are happening in the world also. There are a lot of changes happening because of the digital revolution. So therefore we need to anticipate that and accordingly we need to bring up our sons and daughters.
Sir, it's said that happiness is in the journey, not the destination. So what part of your journey to success helped you realize this?
See, you got to be happy all the time. And I feel that the real thing about happiness is when you are contented. In life, it's more important to be contented. When you are contented, you do give your best. So therefore, enjoy what you do. Whether it's polishing your shoe, whether it's brushing your teeth, whether talking to your friend, whether eating your food, or whether you're doing what you like, a dance or a music or a sports or an art or culture. When you start enjoying, that is the time you start getting happiness from within. Because it propels you, that you feel that every moment which you're spending with that particular hobby or that particular passion of yours, you enjoy, and the moment you enjoy, you excel. And excellence gives you happiness.
Yes, sir. Sir, you have won awards for both recurve and compound archery. You have also set up an academy that has produced world champions in a very short time. So throughout this process, what felt more rewarding, winning the game or coaching students to win?
See, when you are winning, there's always a personal self-interest.
Yes, sir.
But when you're coaching, you're giving back to the society. Giving back to the society is always better than personal winning. Because then you're doing for the country. You're doing for the larger mass of the people. People who are deprived. People who don't have a chance. So you're creating all of that. So that gives you more satisfaction.
So talking about your training, you follow an extremely strict training regime for your students. So why do you think such an intense pressure test is necessary for the training of an archer?
See, it's not about training an archer, it's about creating corporate champions, it's creating corporate leaders, it's creating, whenever you want to get the best, give the best. Resources in the world are limited. When the resources are limited, you have to ensure that it goes to the best. Because you're preparing world champions, you're preparing corporate leaders, you're preparing in any sphere you are. So therefore you have to follow a very strict regime. So you have to identify the best versus the worst. Because ultimately, what happens is, when you create champions, when you create great corporate leaders, the atmosphere which you create actually builds it's the atmosphere and the environment which gets created which propels a leader into becoming a great leader. The good to great journey can only happen when you are having the best resources and the best environment. Now in that case, if you're not strict, so I was very, very strict about people who could stand the test with me. Because I didn't have time to waste my energy on people who don't take things seriously. So when you want to create something great, you have to have it's serious business. It's serious people. And that is the reason I was very ruthless in terms of weeding out people. So people who stand with me over a period of 1 year to 2 years are going to become champions. So if I started with a 32, by the time I landed in the 4th year, there were hardly 6 to 8 boys and girls with me. They could only stand the test of the time. But they became world champions. They became World Cup medalists. That was the beauty. And the others also joined the army, paramilitary forces. So it's not that I didn't take care of them, but then there has to be a difference between the great and the good.
Yes, I definitely agree with what you said. Now coming to the corporate aspect of your career, how would you describe working for an MNC like Tata, especially considering their role in the overall development of their employees as well as the nation?
See, Tatas are totally different. See, when I got, during my final engineering, I was selected for many of the campus recruitment. 3 were allowed. I got through all 3 of them. But whenever I used to tell them I'm going to play, they were saying, but you are an engineer. I'm going to take you as an engineer. Who will do my work? When Tata Steel came in and I said I'm going to play, they said, please go ahead. As long as you can play for the country, no problem. That is the difference between an industrialist and a business. Many of the corporates are business houses. They're not industrialists. That is what makes Tata different. They allow people to play. They allow people to continue with the passion which they have. And that's what creates the society. Society is made because if we don't allow people to prosper in whichever sphere or passion they have, that is what gives back to the country. So their philosophy of giving back to the society is what propelled every Tata employee to come forward and do something for the society.
Sir, we've seen your involvement in mixed-use development projects in the Maldives, Sri Lanka and Western India. But for a relatively smaller city like Prayagraj, we have to travel long distances from our college for many basic necessities. So do you think a mixed college campus setup is possible?
Of course, so today if you look at the development which we are doing at the external, see when we are talking about value homes cannot be inside the city because the city land is very costly. So what happens is the cost of the land goes up and therefore because the cost of the land going up, my per square feet cost goes up. So if I look at my construction cost, it comes down to between 3,000 to 4,000 square feet. So that multiplied by 1,200 square feet gives you 48 lakhs. So nothing comes below 48 lakhs. So therefore what happens is if I look at a value home, it has to be outside the city. And when you are having outside the city, you need to create a mixed use development. Why? Because you have to, see it's ultimately diversity has to be brought in, inclusiveness has to be brought in. So in a mixed use development, you bring in inclusiveness. You have the premium housing, you have also the value homes, but both are staying together. Both have a clubhouse, both have a community hall, both have a playground. So when you mix people and then you have a small mall where you have the various amenities which are there. So mixed use development is what the world is looking at. So whether it's inside the city, whether outside the city, but a mixed use development creates inclusiveness, brings in diversity, and I think so it's more healthy atmosphere for people to live in.
So talking about giving back to the society, you have volunteered for a lot of social development projects, some of which include Srijan, Sparsh, Swachh and even wildlife protection. So can you share a little more about your experience in such projects?
See, I was at one moment of time as a head of the business excellence, I was also heading the corporate social responsibility. So because of that, I was very much involved with this, all the Srijan activities which are there. So we went to train, because starters, as you know, give back to society. So what we did was we started training youths in our educational setups which are there. So in Nasik, for example, vocational training courses we started. In masons, plumbing, electrical. So what is happening is I was trying to take boys and girls from the villages, training them into becoming a better plumber, a better mason, a better electrician. So through that, what is happening is twofold it happened. One, I created more and more skilled youths who get a job. Secondly, it was also helping my industry. Because in my industry, I require skilled plumbers, skilled technicians. So I was creating both. So that is the time when we married both the things and then created this structure that can we do something for the society which benefits and also it benefits the industry. Now, one thing which will happen is when I create plumbers, they may go to Lodha, they may go to your DLF, they may go to Godrej, they may go to, no problem. As long as you are creating youths, skilled youths who go anywhere in the country, ultimately, you're empowering people. You're creating job opportunities. So that was the whole philosophy behind this. And we were the only one, which you may not be knowing, is that we started a new scheme of women empowerment. We are the only real estate development company which sponsors 10 civil engineering students every year. These are girl childs who may not be from a very well-to-do family. So we give them scholarship of 60,000 till 4 years till they become engineers. So in the last we have trained 40 of the civil engineers who have come from different walks of life, who we have helped them, and we have created that.
That is amazing, sir.
So you've been to Seoul for many championships and tournaments. Countries like Korea and Chinese Taipei are small but quite advanced when it comes to archery and sports in general. So what can we as Indians learn from them to improve our performance?
See, the first and the foremost thing is you all need to be patriotic. The biggest problem with Indians are we are not patriotic people. When you go to Japan, you go to Korea, you go to China, you go to Germany, they care about the country. They care about the cleanliness. You don't need to start Prime Minister doesn't require to have a Swachh Abhiyan to tell you what cleanliness is all about. It comes from within. The moment you are patriotic, you start doing things which you are supposed to do as a good citizen. So that is the difference. And that is where lies, because we are more selfish. We want everything for ourselves but not caring about the nature, caring about the cleanliness, caring about what happens with the country. We are only bothered about ourselves. That needs to change. The day that changes, India will be a superpower. Nobody can stop India. And that happens in sports also. Because you engineers are wanting to become mechanical, civil, electrical, computer engineer. You don't want to go into sports. The crowd, the top crowd, the crowd with the brains in India will move to IAS, PCS, chartered accountancy, engineering, medical. But if I tell you to come to sports, many of the parents will say, sports doesn't have a career. I want my son and daughter to become an engineer or doctor first. So that is the difference. The cream is not moving into sports. The day you engineers move into sport like me, you will create world champions.
So under your guidance, India has bagged 12 gold and 10 silver medals at the 2nd South Asian Archery Championship. But in the recent times, we have seen that AI has been surrounded by controversies when it comes to the selection of coaches. So what do you think is the problem and how can the government avoid this from happening?
See, you have to be transparent. The moment you're fair and transparent, there'll be no politics. The question is, are our political system allowing us to be transparent? Because it's human that if I like you, I'll try to prefer that you go with the team. But luckily for us, what we have done, we have tried to change the system. We are saying if the 4-member team is getting selected, the coach who has the maximum number of archers in the team should go. Or the coach who has the number 1 archer should have his coach in the team. So to that extent, we are trying to make it more transparent. And that hopefully, in the longer way, will help the country.
So in India, cricket enjoys the lion's share of limelight. So how does this affect players of other sports psychologically?
That's the sad part of India. That we were governed by British. British played cricket. So the first thing which came to everybody's mind was cricket, and they ensured that they left behind a legacy of cricket, which we still continue to be dominated by some 14 countries, whereas all the other games are played by 150 to 200 countries. So if you look at Virat Kohli, he'll be more popular than Hima Das, who is a world champion, the number one. But she doesn't have the land share. It's Virat Kohli who has the land share. That's the sad part. But then slowly it is changing. Now you have IPL coming in. So you have Kabaddi now becoming popular. Table tennis has moved in. Badminton is going to come through. Other games are knocking on the door. So slowly, as more and more IPLs happen in different games, there will be people who will be known. People will start getting money. And hopefully, sports will then become a career. And many of the engineers will join us.
Yes.
So you've managed so much in life, and we are very interested to know how. You have already written 2 books about archery. So are you planning to write a book related to your life anytime in the near future?
Of course. Because what I feel is that ultimately your life does not end if you don't give back to the society. Knowledge is power. But for that knowledge to come in, it's important that whatever you have learned, and that's the whole reason that I took this journey on the TEDx Talk series, that wherever I get a chance, I come back and speak to all of you. Because whatever I've learned in my last 39 years, coaching champions in the corporate world, I want to give back to the society so that you don't do the mistake which I did. So therefore, I'll definitely come up with my 3rd book, which will be, and shortly, maybe the moment I retire, I'll start writing on that book. So that's my plan. Starting an Olympic school of archery and writing my own book, which can help all others.
So we'll be looking forward to that. So to conclude the interview, we have one last question. Life is all about balancing and prioritizing what is important. And throughout your career, we have seen you manage and excel at a lot of different things. So what advice would you like to give to young minds who are still in the process of discovering what they want to do with life?
See, it's all about priorities. You're very correct. In life, what we see, if you look at most of the Olympic champions, what they say is that what you spend off the office hours, off the school hours, off the college hours is equally important, because that is what requires you to prepare for tomorrow. We have a mistaken identity that we need not prepare for tomorrow. Champions prepare for tomorrow. Leaders prepare for tomorrow. Successful people prepare for tomorrow. So what do? They prioritize the time. If I am doing my college from 2 to, suppose morning 8 o'clock till 2 o'clock, from 2 o'clock or 4 o'clock onwards till the time you go to bed, how are you preparing that time so that you are rejuvenated, your energy levels are up in the morning, and you are coming up with a new idea, new work? That is very important. So therefore, what I did was I prioritized. So my time when I was in engineering college was fixed. It was 8 to 4, 8 to 4 is study. 4 to 6 is games. I was playing archery. 6 to 7 I was doing running and fitness. And then from 8 o'clock till 12 o'clock I was studying. So the question is, are you preparing? And then 12 to 6 again I was rejuvenating. Sleeping is all about getting back the energy. The question is, if any of your priority items get missed out, then that is the cause of concern. So if you are able to prioritize during non-office hours, preparing for tomorrow, so then what happens? You are better prepared. And then you become a topper, you become a champion, because you are preparing your class note, what you studied in the morning, you go back and rehearse, go through it, prepare for what subject is getting taught tomorrow. So if you can manage that 2 things, there will be many toppers.
Thank you, sir. That was indeed an insightful interview. gnoTalks 2019 thanks you for being here with us, sir.
Thank you.